Kim Dae-ho looked out the window of the human ship as it moved slowly toward the massive space station. Nexus Prime was bigger than anything he had ever seen. The station looked like a giant metal flower with 12 arms reaching out into space. Each arm belonged to a different alien race that ruled the galaxy. "First time seeing something like this?" asked Park Soo-jin as she walked up beside him. She carried a small device that could read alien body language and smell. As Earth's best expert on alien life, she would help Kim understand what the aliens really meant when they spoke. "It's incredible," Kim said. "Hard to believe we're really here." 3 months ago, Earth had finally built ships that could travel faster than light. Within days, aliens from the Galactic Council had arrived at Earth. They brought an invitation that changed everything. Humanity was being asked to join the most powerful group in the galaxy. Lee Woo-bin, the captain of their ship called Aegis, spoke over the communication system. "We're about to dock. Everyone get ready. Remember, we're here to learn what they want from us." Kim straightened his uniform. As Earth's top diplomat, he would speak for all humans today. He had spent years learning about war and peace between nations on Earth. Now he would use those skills with aliens who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. The docking process was smooth. Alien technology guided their ship into a perfect landing. When the doors opened, Kim stepped out with his team of 12 humans. They were the first humans to ever walk on an alien station. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. The gravity felt lighter than Earth's. Strange music played softly from hidden speakers. Everything was designed to show how advanced the aliens were. A tall, thin alien waited for them. Its skin was pale blue, and it had 4 arms. When it spoke, a small device translated its words into English. "Welcome, humans. I am Veltara of the Etherian Dominion. We have ruled this council for over 10,000 of your years. Please follow me." As they walked through long hallways, Kim saw aliens of many different types. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated in the air, others walked on 6 legs. But all of them stopped to stare at the humans. Park Soo-jin whispered to Kim, "Their body language shows they think we're interesting, but not important." They entered a huge round room with 12 tall chairs arranged in a circle. Each chair was designed for a different type of alien body. In the center was a smaller chair, clearly meant for the humans. Veltara pointed to the small chair. "Please, sit. We will explain why you are here." Kim sat down, feeling very small among the giant alien chairs. His team stood behind him. Around the circle, alien leaders looked down at him with expressions he could not read. Another alien began to speak. This one looked like a large insect with wings. "Humans, your species has finally developed faster than light travel. This makes you eligible to join our council. We offer you junior membership." "What does junior membership mean?" Kim asked. "It means you will serve the galaxy's needs," said a third alien that looked like a walking tree. "Young species like yours have energy and strength. You will help keep peace in dangerous areas where older species prefer not to go." Park Soo-jin's device began making quiet, beeping sounds. She was reading high levels of stress chemicals from several aliens. They were nervous about something, but trying to hide it. Veltara brought out a thick document written on strange metal sheets. "These are the Galactic Accords. If you sign, humanity will have a place in our great civilization." Kim took the document and began reading. The translation was clear, but the meaning was troubling. According to the Accords, Earth would give up control of its military. Human soldiers would fight wherever the Council sent them. Earth's resources would be shared with the galaxy. In return, humanity would receive protection and guidance. "This seems like we're giving up our freedom," Kim said carefully. "Freedom is a young species word," replied the insect-like alien. Mature civilizations understand that cooperation requires sacrifice. You will sacrifice your independence. We will sacrifice our time to guide you. And if we refuse? Asked Li Wubin, from behind Kim. The room became very quiet. Several aliens looked at each other with what seemed like worry. No species has ever refused, said Veltara. The galaxy is dangerous. There are threats that young species cannot handle alone. Without our protection, your people would not survive. Park Soo-jin moved closer to Kim and whispered, "The stress, chemicals just got much stronger. They're afraid of something, but it's not us." Kim looked around the room again. These aliens had technology that was thousands of years ahead of humanity. Their civilizations were older than human history, yet something was making them nervous. "We need time to study this document," Kim said. "This decision will affect all of humanity. We cannot rush." "Of course," said Veltara, though its voice sounded less friendly now. "You have 3 of your days to decide. We have prepared rooms for your stay. You will find everything you need." As they were led to their rooms, Kim noticed more things. The aliens whispered to each other when they thought humans weren't listening. Security guards followed them everywhere. And several times, he saw aliens looking at screens that showed the edge of the galaxy, as if they were watching for something. In their private room, Park Soo-jin shared what her devices had learned. Every single alien leader is extremely stressed. They're trying to hide it, but their bodies are producing chemicals that show fear, worry, and desperation. "Fear of what?" asked Li Wubin. "That's what we need to find out," said Kim. "Something is making the most powerful beings in the galaxy nervous, and they want us to sign a contract that makes us their soldiers before they tell us what we're fighting." That night, Kim could not sleep. He read the Galactic Accords again and again. The more he read, the more he understood that this was not an invitation to join as equals. This was a demand for humanity to become servants. But why were these powerful aliens so desperate for human soldiers? What was coming that scared them so much? And why hadn't they mentioned this threat when they invited humanity to join? Kim looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, waiting for his decision. The choice he made here would decide the future of every human who would ever live. The galaxy's most powerful beings wanted humanity to sign away their freedom, but they were hiding something important. Kim decided that before he signed anything, he would find out what the aliens were really afraid of. The next morning would bring answers. Whether those answers would save humanity or doom them remained to be seen. The next morning, Kim Dae-ho divided his team into 3 groups. Each group would try to learn what the aliens were hiding. Park Soo-jin would study alien behavior and biology. Choi Min-ho, their computer expert, would try to access alien databases. Han Yuri, their scientist, would examine any alien technology she could find. "Be careful," Kim warned them. "These aliens are friendly on the surface, but they're hiding something big. Don't let them know what you're really doing." Park Soo-jin started by visiting the station's medical center. She told the aliens she wanted to learn about galactic diseases that might affect humans. The alien doctors were happy to show her around. They were proud of their advanced medicine. But Park Soo-jin was really studying the doctors themselves. Her devices showed that every alien she met had the same stress patterns: fear, worry, and something else: guilt. They felt bad about something they were planning to do. "Tell me about the most dangerous threats in the galaxy," she asked a friendly alien doctor who looked like a large cat with tentacles. "Oh, there are many dangerous things," the doctor said. "Space pirates, deadly plants, wild animals on new planets. That's why young species need protection." "What about threats to entire civilizations?" Park Soo-jin asked. The doctor's stress levels jumped immediately. "Why do you ask about such things? Young species should not worry about problems they cannot solve." Meanwhile, Choi Min-ho was having better luck. He had offered to help upgrade the station's computer systems with human technology. The aliens were interested in seeing what humans had developed. This gave him access to their networks. Late at night, while the aliens thought he was sleeping, Minho used his skills to dig deeper into their systems. What he found made his blood run cold. The aliens had files about something called the Devourers. These files were marked with the highest security levels. Minho had to be very careful as he read them. The Devourers were described as a force from outside the galaxy. They had appeared once before, thousands of years ago. In just a few decades, they had destroyed hundreds of star systems. Entire civilizations had vanished without a trace. Then, suddenly, the Devourers had disappeared. The surviving aliens thought they were safe. They built the Galactic Council to make sure they could work together if the threat ever returned. But now it was returning. Deep space sensors had detected massive ships moving toward the galaxy. The Devourers were coming back, and they were bringing more ships than ever before. Minho found battle plans that made him sick. The Council's strategy was simple. Use newer species as soldiers while the older civilizations hid in heavily protected star systems. When the Devourers attacked, young species like humanity would fight and die while the Council members stayed safe. At the same time, Han Yuri was learning disturbing facts about galactic history. She had asked to visit the station's library to study past civilizations. The aliens were proud to show her their records of 10,000 years of galactic history, but Yuri noticed something strange in the records. Every few hundred years, a new species would join the Council as junior members. These species would be given dangerous military missions. Then, after a few decades, there would be no more records about them. What happened to the Korthax? Yuri asked the alien librarian. Your records show they joined the Council 300 years ago, but then nothing. They were brave warriors, the librarian said sadly. They died fighting to protect the galaxy from terrible threats. We honor their sacrifice. And the Zephyrians? The Nexali? The Bruthan? Yuri asked about other disappeared species. Each time, the answer was the same. They had been brave. They had died in battle. They were honored, but they were gone. Yuri realized the horrible truth. The Galactic Council had been using young species as disposable soldiers for thousands of years. Humanity was just the latest group being recruited to die for the older civilizations. Yang Tai-jun, their military expert, was having his own discoveries. The aliens had offered to show him their military technology and tactics. They wanted to see how quickly humans could learn to use advanced weapons. But Tai-jun noticed that all the weapons they showed him were designed for close combat. The aliens talked about fighting enemies that got very close to populated planets. This was strange, because space battles usually happened far from planets. Why do you design weapons for fighting near planets? Tai-jun asked. Sometimes enemies break through our outer defenses, an alien general explained. When that happens, someone must fight them on the planets themselves. Young species are very good at this type of fighting. Tai-jun understood. The Council wasn't planning to use human ships in space battles. They wanted human soldiers to fight on planets after the space defenses had already failed. Humans would be the last line of defense while aliens evacuated to safety. That evening, the three groups shared what they had learned with Kim Dae-ho. The picture was clear and terrifying. So the Devourers are coming back, Kim said quietly. The Council knows about it, and their plan is to throw us at the enemy while they hide. It's worse than that, said Minho. I found records of their war planning meetings. They're not even trying to win. They're just trying to slow the Devourers down long enough for the core worlds to build better defenses. Core worlds? Asked Park Soo-jin. The home systems of the oldest Council members, Yuri explained. They've been moving important resources and people there for decades. When the Devourers arrive, they plan to abandon everything else. Kim felt sick. The aliens had seemed so friendly, so wise, so advanced. But they were willing to sacrifice humanity and any other young species to save themselves. "There's something else," said Tae-jun. "I've been watching their military preparations. They're not getting ready to fight the Devourers. They're getting ready to run away." "What do you mean?" Kim asked. "Look at their ship designs, their supply lines, their troop movements. Everything is designed for retreat, not for battle. They've already decided they can't win." Park Soo-jin checked her notes from observing alien behavior. "That explains the guilt I've been detecting. They feel bad about what they're planning to do to us." "But not bad enough to change their plans," said Min-ho angrily. Kim stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see alien ships moving, back and forth between the station and distant star systems. Now he knew what they were really doing. They were preparing for the greatest retreat in galactic history. "We have a choice to make," Kim said to his team. "We can sign their contract and become their cannon fodder. Or we can refuse and face the Devourers alone." "There might be a third option," said Han Yuri thoughtfully. "What if we find out more about these Devourers? Maybe there's something the Council doesn't know. Maybe there's a better way to deal with them." "The Council has had thousands of years to study this threat," Tae-jun pointed out. "What could we possibly discover that they haven't?" "Maybe that's the problem," Kim said slowly. "They've been so focused on hiding and running that they never tried to understand their enemy. They never tried to find a real solution. So what do we do?" asked Park Soo-jin. Kim looked around at his team. These were some of the best humans Earth had to offer. They were smart, brave, and creative. Most importantly, they hadn't given up hope. "Tomorrow we give the Council our answer," Kim said. "But first, we're going to make them tell us the truth about the Devourers. All of it." "And if they refuse?" asked Min-ho. "Then we'll know for certain that they never intended to treat us as equals," Kim replied. "And humanity will make its own choice about how to face the future." Outside the window, the stars looked cold and distant. Somewhere among them, an ancient enemy was approaching. The galaxy's oldest civilizations had already decided that the only solution was sacrifice and retreat. But humans had always been stubborn. They had a habit of finding new solutions to old problems. Tomorrow, Kim would find out if that human stubbornness was enough to change the fate of the galaxy. Kim Dae-ho walked into the council chamber with his team behind him. The 12 alien leaders sat in their massive chairs, looking down at the humans. They expected to hear humanity's acceptance of the Galactic Accords. Instead, Kim placed the unsigned document on the table in the center of the room. "Before humanity makes any decision," Kim said in a calm, clear voice, "we want to know about the Devourers." The reaction was immediate. Several aliens made sounds of surprise. Others shifted nervously in their chairs. Veltara's pale blue skin became even paler. "I don't understand what you mean," Veltara said, but its voice shook slightly. "We know. They're coming," Kim continued. "We know they destroyed civilizations thousands of years ago. We know you've been preparing for their return. And we know your plan is to use humanity as soldiers while you retreat to safety." The insect-like alien leader buzzed angrily. "How dare you spy on us? We welcomed you as guests." "You welcomed us as future sacrifices," Kim replied. "You invited us here to sign away our freedom so we could die for you." The tree-like alien spoke in a voice like wind through leaves. "The Devourers cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be stopped. All we can do is delay them while our most important worlds prepare defenses." "Have you ever tried to communicate with them?" asked Han Yuri, stepping forward. "Communicate?" The alien's bark-like skin rippled with what seemed like shock. "They are destroyers. They consume everything in their path." "But why?" Yuri pressed. "What drives them? What do they want?" "It doesn't matter what they want," said Veltara. "All that matters is survival. The Council has survived for 10,000 years by making hard choices." Kim looked around the chamber. He could see fear in every alien face, despite their different features. These beings had lived with terror for so long that they couldn't imagine any other way. "You call them hard choices," Kim said. "I call them cowardly choices. How many young species have you sacrificed over the centuries? How many civilizations have died while you hid behind them?" "We preserved galactic civilization," the insect. Alien buzzed loudly. "Without the core worlds, all knowledge and culture would be lost." "Whose knowledge? Whose culture?" Park Soo-jin asked. "Only yours. You let everyone else die." Bei Jin-woo, their communications specialist, had been quietly recording the entire conversation. Now he activated a device that would broadcast their words across the galaxy. Every world with the right technology would hear what was being said in this chamber. "Citizens of the galaxy," Kim said, knowing his words were now being transmitted to billions of beings. "You are listening to the Galactic Council explain their plan for the Devourer crisis. They intend to use new species as soldiers while they retreat to safety. This is what they call leadership." Veltara realized what was happening. "Turn that off immediately. You have no right to—" "We have every right," Kim interrupted. "You invited us here to join your civilization. Now everyone can hear what membership really means." Around the chamber, alien leaders were frantically trying to contact their home worlds. The broadcast was causing panic across the galaxy. For the first time, ordinary citizens were learning about the Devourer threat and the Council's plans. "You're destroying everything," the tree alien said. "There will be panic, chaos." "There's already chaos," said Lim So-young, their military commander. "You created it by lying to everyone for thousands of years." Kim continued speaking to the galaxy. "The Council asks young species to sacrifice everything for the greater good. But they define greater good as their own survival. They preserve their cultures by destroying yours." Kang Mi-young, their engineer, began activating security protocols on all human technology they had brought to the station. If they were leaving, they wouldn't leave anything useful behind. "This is madness," Veltara said. "Without the Council, the galaxy will fall apart. There will be war, chaos, destruction." "Maybe," Kim agreed. "Or maybe the galaxy will find better leaders. Maybe species will work together as equals instead of as masters and servants." The insect alien's wings buzzed frantically. "The Devourers will destroy you all. You need our protection." "Your protection?" Kim laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You were planning to feed us to the Devourers. That's not protection, that's sacrifice." Kim turned to face the recording device directly. "People of the galaxy, humanity has made its choice. We will not sign the Galactic Accords. We will not become your disposable soldiers. We will not die for leaders who see us as expendable." The chamber erupted in alien voices, all talking at once. Some begged humanity to reconsider. Others threatened consequences. A few seemed relieved that someone had finally spoken the truth. "You cannot leave," Veltara said desperately. "No species has ever refused the Council." "Then it's time for someone to be first," Kim replied. He gestured to his team. One by one, they began walking toward the exit. Their movements were calm and deliberate. They weren't running away in fear. They were making a choice with dignity. "Wait," called the tree alien. "If you leave, who will fight the Devourers?" Kim stopped at the chamber entrance and turned back. "Maybe you should try talking to them instead of just assuming they can't be reasoned with. Maybe you should try understanding them instead of just fearing them." "That's impossible." Several aliens said at once. "You said traveling faster than light was impossible too," Han Yuri pointed out. "Until humans did it." As they walked through the station corridors, aliens stared at them in shock. Word was spreading quickly. The humans were leaving. They had refused the Council's offer and walked away. Some aliens looked angry. Others looked confused. But Kim noticed that some looked hopeful. Maybe they were tired of the Council's rule, too. Maybe they wanted something better. At their ship, Captain Lee Wubin was already preparing for departure. "All systems ready," he reported. "We can leave whenever you give the order." Kim looked back at Nexus Prime one last time. The massive station that had seemed so impressive when they arrived now looked like what it really was, a monument to fear and control. "Take us home," Kim ordered. As the Aegis pulled away from the station, more broadcasts were coming in from across the galaxy. Some species were supporting the Council, calling humanity reckless and dangerous, but others were asking questions they had never asked before. Why should young species always be the ones to die? Why couldn't the galaxy work together as equals? What gave the Council the right to decide who lived and who died? Park Soo-jin monitored alien communications as they traveled. "It's working," she reported. "The galaxy is talking. Really talking, maybe for the first time in thousands of years." "What about the Council?" asked Tae-jun. "They're in emergency session," Minho said, checking their intelligence feeds. "Some members want to send ships after us. Others want to start preparing their retreat immediately." "And the Devourers?" Kim asked. Yuri checked her calculations. "Still coming. They'll reach the outer galaxy in about 6 months." Kim nodded. 6 months to prepare. 6 months to find a better solution than hiding behind the deaths of others. 6 months to prove that humanity's choice had been the right one. Behind them, the galaxy watched in terror as humanity left the table. But for the first time in thousands of years, it was also watching in hope. Maybe there was another way. Maybe the young, stubborn humans would find it. The real test was just beginning. 3 months after leaving Nexus Prime, Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of Earth's largest ship, watching chaos spread across the galaxy. The Council was falling apart just as they had predicted. "Report from the Outer Rim," announced Shin Hye-won, who now led humanity's diplomatic efforts. "The Kelvani Empire just declared independence from the Council. They're the 5th species to leave this week." Oh Dong-hyuk, the Fleet Admiral humanity had chosen to lead their military, studied the tactical displays. "The Etherian Dominion is pulling all their ships back to core worlds. They've abandoned 3 entire star systems." "What about civilians in those systems?" Kim asked. "The Council told them to evacuate on their own," Hye-won replied with disgust. "Most don't have ships capable of interstellar travel." Kim felt sick. This was exactly what he had feared. The Council's collapse was leaving innocent people defenseless. But humanity had a plan for that too. "Admiral O, deploy the rescue fleets," Kim ordered. "Already moving," O replied with a slight smile. "Captain Jeon's forces are heading to the Kelvani systems. Captain Nam's group is going to help the abandoned colonies." For 3 months, humanity had been busy. While the Council panicked and their alliance crumbled, humans had been building ships and making new friends. Not warships, but rescue vessels designed to save lives. The plan was simple but radical. Instead of preparing to fight the Devourers, humanity would evacuate threatened populations. Instead of building walls, they would build bridges. Instead of creating more fear, they would offer hope. John Kyung-min's voice came over the communication system from his ship near the former Council worlds. "We've got contact with Kelvani refugees. They're surprised we're here to help instead of conquer." "Tell them this is what real allies do," Kim replied. The strategy was working better than anyone had hoped. Species that had been abandoned by the Council were eager to work with humanity. They shared technology, information, and resources. Some even offered to help with rescue operations, but the most important development was happening at the edge of the galaxy. "Sir," called Han Yuri from her science station, "we're getting data from the long-range sensors. The Devourer fleet is unusual." "How so?" Kim asked. "They're not moving like an invasion force," Yuri explained. "Their formation is more like refugees. They're traveling in family groups with supply ships and what look like civilian vessels." This information changed everything. For months, Yuri had been studying every piece of data about the Devourers. The more she learned, the more she believed they weren't mindless destroyers. "I think they're running from something," Yuri continued. "Something in their home galaxy scared them so badly that they had to leave everything behind." Oh, Dong-hyuk frowned. "But the historical records show they destroyed entire star systems." "Maybe they had no choice," Yuri said. "Maybe they needed resources desperately and took them by force because no one would help them." Kim considered this possibility. The Council had always assumed the Devourers were evil destroyers. But what if they were just desperate survivors? What if the real problem was that no one had ever tried to help them? "Yuri, how long until they reach inhabited systems?" Kim asked. 2 months, maybe less." "Then we need to try something the galaxy has never done before," Kim decided. "We need to meet them with help instead of weapons." The idea was so radical that it made even some humans nervous. But Kim remembered something his grandfather had told him. The best way to make an enemy into a friend is to treat them like a friend first. Over the next few weeks, humanity's rescue operations expanded. They saved millions of beings from abandoned worlds. Each rescue mission taught them more about the different species in the galaxy. They learned about different cultures, technologies, and ways of thinking. More importantly, they learned that most species were tired of the Council's rule. They wanted something better, something fairer. Humanity's willingness to help without asking for anything in return was inspiring a revolution of hope. "The Council is getting desperate," reported Shin Hee-won during a strategy meeting. "They're trying to rebuild their alliance, but too many species have lost faith in them." "Any word from species who want to join our rescue efforts?" Kim asked. "Dozens," Hee-won replied happily. "The Kelvani want to contribute ships. The Norvani are offering medical supplies. Even some former council members are secretly asking how they can help." Nam Jae-hyun, their expert on alien psychology, had been studying devourer behavior patterns from old records. "I think I understand what drives them," he announced. "They're not conquerors. They're survivors with survivor's guilt." "Explain," Kim said. "Look at their attack patterns from the historical records," Nam continued. "They always targeted resource-rich worlds, but they left cultural and religious sites alone. They took what they needed to survive, but they didn't destroy for the sake of destroying. So they felt guilty about taking resources by force," Yuri added. "That's why they left the galaxy after getting what they needed. They didn't want to be destroyers." Kim felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. But now they're coming back, which means whatever drove them away the first time is even worse now. "Or they've run out of other options," Nam suggested. "Maybe their home galaxy is completely dead now. Maybe this is their last chance to find a new home." The implications were staggering. If the Devourers were refugees instead of conquerors, then the galaxy's approach was completely wrong. Fighting them would only make them more desperate. Hiding from them would force them to take resources by violence, but offering to help them might change everything. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're getting a message from Captain Kim Yoon-soo. She's reached the edge of Devourer space." Kim Yoon-soo had volunteered for the most dangerous mission humanity had ever attempted. She was taking a single ship to try making peaceful contact with the Devourers. Everyone knew she might not come back. "Put her through," Kim ordered. Yoon-soo's voice crackled over the speakers, distorted by the vast distance. "I can see them. Thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. But you're right. They look like refugees, not an army." "Any response to our peaceful signals?" Kim asked. "Not yet. But I'm detecting something else. There are ships following them. Different design, much more aggressive looking. I think something is hunting them." The bridge fell silent. If something was chasing the Devourers, that changed everything again. The galaxy wasn't facing an invasion. It was about to be caught in the middle of someone else's war. "Captain, Yoon-soo, pull back to a safe distance," Kim ordered. "But keep monitoring. We need to understand what's really happening out there." As the transmission ended, Kim looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all thinking the same thing. The Council had spent thousands of years preparing for the wrong threat. They had built their entire civilization around hiding from refugees while the real enemy remained unknown. "Admiral O," Kim said quietly, "change our mission parameters. We're not just rescuing civilians anymore. We might need to rescue the Devourers, too." "From what?" O asked. "From whatever's been chasing them across the universe," Kim replied, "and from a galaxy that's too afraid to see the truth." Outside the ship's windows, stars glittered in the darkness. Somewhere among them, desperate refugees were fleeing toward a galaxy that planned to destroy them. Behind them, an unknown enemy followed. Humanity had walked away from the Council's table of fear and lies. Now, they would build a new table. One, where refugees and residents could sit together and find a better solution. The real test was about to begin. Captain Kim Yoon-soo's ship moved slowly toward the massive Devourer fleet. Her hands were steady on the controls, but her heart was beating fast. She was about to do something no one in galactic history had ever tried. "Broadcasting on all frequencies," reported her communications officer. "Universal peace signals, mathematical sequences, even music. If they're capable of communication, they should understand at least one of these." Behind Yoon-soo, Nam Jae-hyun monitored every scanner they had. As humanity's expert on alien psychology, he was looking for any sign that the Devourers were responding to their peaceful approach. "I'm reading massive energy signatures," Nam reported. "But they're not weapons. It looks like engines. They're maintaining course but reducing speed." "They're listening," Yoon-soo said with quiet amazement. "After thousands of years, someone is finally listening to them." Suddenly, her ship's communication system activated. The voice that came through was unlike anything humans had ever heard. It was deep, musical, and filled with exhaustion. "Small ship, why do you approach without weapons? Why do you sing the songs of peace?" Yoon-soo took a deep breath. The next words she spoke would determine the fate of the galaxy. "We approach in friendship," she said clearly. "We know you are refugees, not conquerors. We want to help." The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Then the voice returned, filled with something that sounded like tears. "Help? No one has offered help in 10,000 rotations. All flee or fight. None listen." "We're listening now," Nam said, leaning toward the communicator. "Tell us your story." What they learned in the next hour changed everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. The Devourers called themselves the Wanderers. They had once been a peaceful civilization in a distant galaxy. But their home had been invaded by something called the Silence, beings of pure entropy that consumed not just matter but the very possibility of existence. "The Silence turned stars into darkness," the Wanderer explained. "Planets into nothing, life into void. We fled because staying meant not just death, but never having existed at all. They had wandered through space for thousands of years, desperately, searching for a new home. When they had encountered other galaxies, they had tried to ask for help, but their appearance was frightening, and their need was urgent. Misunderstanding led to conflict, and conflict led to the reputation that now preceded them. We took what we needed to survive." The Wanderer continued sadly. "We did not wish to harm others, but our children were dying. What choice did we have?" "The same choice we're offering you now," Yoon-soo replied. "A chance to find a better way. Back on Earth, Kim Dae-ho listened to the transmission with growing excitement and horror. Excitement because humanity had been right. The Devourers could be reasoned with. Horror because of what was chasing them. "If the Silence is following them," Han Yuri said grimly, "then our galaxy is in more danger than the Council ever imagined." "How long do we have?" Kim asked. Yuri checked her calculations. If the Silence is maintaining the same speed as the Wanderers, maybe 6 months after the refugees arrive, Kim activated the galaxy-wide communication system that Bei Jinwu had established. Species across the galaxy could hear his words. "Citizens of the galaxy," Kim began. "Humanity has made contact with the beings you call the Devourers. They are not our enemies. They are refugees fleeing from a threat that could destroy us all." The reaction was immediate. Some species called Kim a liar. Others demanded proof, but many listened with growing understanding. The rescue operations humanity had been conducting had already shown that cooperation was possible. Maybe this was just a larger version of the same principle. Over the next few weeks, Kim worked tirelessly to organize the greatest diplomatic effort in galactic history. Representatives from dozens of species met in emergency sessions. Even some council members attended, though they came secretly. The plan that emerged was ambitious beyond anything ever attempted. Instead of fighting the Wanderers or the Silence, the galaxy would do something unprecedented. They would work together to find a real solution. Kim Yun-soo became the first ambassador to the Wanderers. Working with Nam Jae-hyun and teams of scientists from across the galaxy, she learned about Wanderer technology and culture. What she discovered amazed everyone. The Wanderers had developed incredible abilities during their thousands of years of fleeing. They could transform dead planets into living worlds. They could create new stars from cosmic dust. They could build entire solar systems from raw materials. "They're not destroyers," Yun-soo reported to the galaxy. "They're builders. They've just never had a chance to build instead of survive." Meanwhile, Han Yuri led an international team studying the Silence. Using Wanderer knowledge and galactic technology, they began to understand their true enemy. The Silence wasn't alive in any normal sense. It was more like a cosmic disease that spread through space, turning matter and energy into nothingness. "We can't fight it with weapons," Yuri announced, "but we might be able to cure it." The solution they developed was as elegant as it was impossible. Using Wanderer building technology and galactic resources, they would create a barrier of new life at the edge of the galaxy. Not a wall to keep the Silence out, but a wave of creation so powerful that it would transform the Silence itself. "We're going to heal the universe," Kim told the assembled representatives. "Not just save our galaxy, but cure the disease that's been spreading through space for millions of years." It was the most ambitious project ever attempted. It required every species to contribute their best technology, their smartest scientists, and their most skilled workers. Former enemies had to work side by side. Ancient prejudices had to be forgotten. The council members who had wanted to sacrifice humanity found themselves working alongside the humans they had tried to use. Species that had never trusted each other shared their most precious secrets. The Wanderers, grateful beyond words to finally be welcomed, shared technologies that revolutionized galactic civilization. Park Yun-ji commanded the first joint construction fleet, building massive creation engines at the galaxy's edge. These devices would generate new stars, new planets, and new forms of life at an incredible rate. When the Silence arrived, it would encounter not empty space, but an explosion of creation. The work was hard and dangerous. Several construction crews were lost when they got too close to the approaching Silence. But for every ship that was lost, 10 more volunteered to take its place. The galaxy had found something worth fighting for. Not just survival, but hope. When the Silence finally reached the galaxy's edge, it encountered something it had never faced before. Instead of matter to consume, it found creation itself. The barrier of new life didn't just stop the Silence, it transformed it. The entropy that had destroyed countless galaxies was converted into the energy needed to create new ones. Kim Dae-ho stood on the observation deck of Nexus Prime, watching the transformation through powerful telescopes. Where the Silence had once been, new stars were being born, The disease that had plagued the universe for millions of years was becoming the cure. "It's working," Yuri reported with wonder in her voice. "The silence is being converted into creative energy. It's actually making the universe more alive, not less." Around the galaxy, celebration was beginning. But Kim felt something deeper than joy. He felt the satisfaction of knowing humanity had made the right choice. They had walked away from a table of fear and built a new table of hope. Veltara, the former council leader, approached Kim with something humans had never seen from an Etherian: humility. "We were wrong," Veltara admitted. "For 10,000 years, we chose fear over wisdom. You chose wisdom over fear. How can we learn to do better?" Kim smiled and gestured to the new stars being born at the galaxy's edge. "The same way we solved this problem. Together. As equals." The Wanderers had found a home at last. The galaxy had found new purpose in creation rather than destruction. And humanity had proven that sometimes the most radical action is simply choosing hope over fear. At the new Galactic Assembly, representatives from hundreds of species worked together as equals. There were no junior members, no senior partners, no one species ruling over others. Just beings working together to make the universe a better place. Kim looked out at the assembled delegates and smiled. They had left the old table where fear ruled and built a new one where hope had a voice. The galaxy was no longer watching in terror. It was watching in wonder as the universe itself began to heal.